Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Today we have some pro-revenge stories and our first story of the day is by Not a Bad Guy 3, Ruined a Crap Housemate's Life. So I moved into a 4-bedroom uni house. I knew two of my housemates, let's call them Abby and Ben. Due to unfortunate circumstances, our previously planned housemate didn't live with us, so we found a new one, Chloe. Chloe is a horrible housemate. This becomes apparent when they never paid any bills or rent on time, smokes like a chimney inside against our agreement, leaves home for a few days leaving a big pile of washing up for us to do, including our pots and pans, scream gaming on their laptop all the way till 5 a.m., walls are thin, just to name a few things. Basically, they suck. So it gets till about 4 months in, we cannot stand Chloe. So we have a house meeting. Basically, we sit there and try to explain how we would prefer they don't scream at their laptop, I assume gaming, until 5 a.m. every night as all of us get up early. Everything we bring up, Chloe denied it. We have each lent Chloe a month's rent and bills too, and Chloe hasn't paid any of us back. Over $1,000 between us. Chloe denied it, saying, "I don't owe you." This point me, Abby, and Ben are all pretty pissed. Then a few weeks later was a Saturday night, and being students, Abby and Ben and me invited friends around for pre-drinks. We asked Chloe first, they said they would be out, so that's fine. Turns out they finished work early, so they came home and were shocked to find people there, went up to their room. They kept coming down and turning the music down. It wasn't even loud in the first place. Chloe got so angry and threw my speaker out the window. I didn't see Chloe do it, but loads of people told me so. I'd had enough. I went to go get my speaker. Chloe came with me to my surprise. And as Chloe left in full view of me, keyed my car parked on the driveway. I got up with my speaker and shouted as she walked off. Luckily, we have an automatic light on the side of the house, and a car was driving down my road at the time, and the driver said they had a dash cam and probably caught it out the window to me. I stopped shouting in disbelief and gave him my email address. Went about my night enjoying the party. When it was time to leave, a lot of us hadn't finished our alcohol, so we left it on the kitchen table and left. When we got back the next day and had sobered up in the morning, we found all the alcohol had been taken along with the speaker, some headphones, and my laptop. Now I was really pissed. The revenge. I logged into my housemate's laptop on my email. This guy had pulled through, sent me a small clip of Chloe keying the car along with several close-up stills showing the key and contact. I first confronted Chloe asking if they knew where my stuff was while Abby and Ben secretly recorded on their phones. Things got heated and they looked like they were going to fight me. I am a big guy, 6'4", and am really not scared. I am basically just pissing Chloe off. Chloe then swung her fists at me a few times, making contact. I didn't fight back. I put my hands and arms over my head and face. Chloe then stomps off, thinking they won. Let me remind you, Abby and Ben were recording. I call the police, they show up. I basically say I have good reason to believe Chloe stole my alcohol and other possessions. They go up and knock on Chloe's door. Go away! They can't go in without a search warrant. I file a report about assault and the things stolen relating the two. The police are very nice and basically tell me how to fill it in. They come back the next day with a warrant for Chloe's arrest for assault and battery. They then search her room and find all the stolen alcohol bottles, my headphones which were clearly mine as they only paired with my phone, and my laptop and damaged speaker. I sued Chloe and won. I had indisputable evidence along with witnesses for all the events. I got around $3,000 for the car, speaker, and rent Chloe owed us, and an additional $5,000. Chloe went to prison for resisting arrest, assaulting a police officer, assault, destruction of property, theft, and battery. Chloe still had to pay rent for her room, which we used as a gym. So considering Chloe got locked up and sent to prison, if you were living here, what would you use that extra bedroom as? Let me know in the comments down below. Would you use it as a gym? Would you use it as a entertainment room? Would you use it as just extra storage personally? Let me know. Our next story is by MediocreFisherman, Wasted a scammer's afternoon and gas money using a fake Facebook account for insulting me weeks earlier. Back in September, I went to look at a pair of moose antlers on Facebook Marketplace that my dad was interested in. He lives in a small cabin on my property and thought the antlers would look cool over his front door. We get there and the dude is clearly high on coke, jittery, keeps wiping his nose, etc. We met him at a storage rental place, so he had to let us in with his code, and we were stuck in the facility until he let us back out. We get to his rental unit and he gets the antlers out. They were very clearly fake. He'd said he'd spray painted them brown to make them look like they were still in velvet. It was obvious he sprayed them to try to make them look real. The weight was off, the color was off, there were several large cracks in them, and you could see they were white inside, not bone colored. There were also several points broken off, and the material inside was white and powdery. Again, not bone. He kept insisting they could be fixed with some epoxy. Finally, tapping your fingers on them made a drum noise, so they were hollow inside. At this point, I hadn't said a word at all. I was just along for the ride with my dad. Dad politely tells the guy that we're going to pass. He thinks they're fake. Thanks, but no thanks. The guy goes off the deep end, screaming at us, calling us all sorts of names, insulting us, our mothers, etc. Then he starts screaming at us that we were locked in there with him and weren't leaving until he was ready to go. Dad and I get in the truck, and luckily another customer was coming into their unit and we were able to get out of the locked gate when they came in. We both thought it was hilarious how off the wall this guy acted and how fake the antlers looked in person. I stew on this for a few weeks and finally come up with a revenge plan. I didn't say a single word to the guy, and he insulted my entire family tree, wife, intelligence, etc. I create a new Facebook account with the dumbest old person name I could come up with. Then I use a bunch of Hide the Pain Herald meme photos to populate it with. Then start adding as many friends as I can, posting dumb crap about old black and white movies, my prostate, etc. Spent a few days crap loading this account as much as I could. Then, once the account was 2 weeks old and I could get on Facebook groups, I go to a few groups I knew this guy was on and find some of his items he had for sale. Luckily, he had 2 large bookcases for sale. Great, something big and awkward to move around. Next, I do some research and find the most pain-in-the-butt location in my city to get to. I pick a place that has no highway on-ramps, so it takes at least half an hour to get to it off the highway. I message him and I ask if he would deliver since I only have a sedan. And he says yes, for $50 to cover his gas and a helper because they would take 2 people to move around. We set up a date and time, and I tell him I'm going to meet him at a nearby grocery store since my house is hard to find. Finally, the time arrives. He messages me that he is at the grocery store. Now I come up with every annoying old person slow thing I can think of. I'm putting my shoes on. My wife is in the shower and I can't leave in case she slips. Then, oh, we've not gone anywhere in so long because of this China virus. My car battery is dead. Mr. Scammer finally asks for my address and says he will find the place. I get on Google Maps and find the most pain-in-the-butt street to get to, knowing he's driving a full-size sedan and towing a trailer with the bookshelves. So I find a street in the very center of an old, badly laid-out neighborhood, got on Street View, and look for where the house number stops, and pick a number a few above that one. I tested in Google Maps, and Google Maps isn't smart enough to know that house number doesn't exist. It just points you at the end of a dead-end street. So I relay this address. Of course, I made sure to mess it up a few times and got him lost in the process. After about 90 minutes, he messages that he can't find that house number, but he's on my street. Can I please come outside? I reply back with, no thanks. He says, no thanks what? I say, I walked out there and saw them. Not interested in buying. My Facebook account blows up for the next hour with him trying to call me, video chat, sending all kinds of horrible messages about how I'm a liar and a cheater. I never responded back. I check it occasionally, and about every 2 weeks he sends me a nasty message still. Dude had no idea who it was that messed with him or why it happened. I'm kind of debating about doing it again. I definitely think it was illegal of him to try and entrap you into the storage place. And yeah, he definitely wasted your time and riled you up. That said, you did do a pretty darn good revenge one time here. I feel like it would get excessive if you do it again just for mere pleasure, because at what point does it go from revenge and fun revenge to just being a jerk? Our next story is by Hunt the Win 1971. Pick a fight so you can cheat, enjoy looking for a new place to live. I saw a post on another sub that reminded me of something that happened years ago and how I dealt with it. Back in the time before cell phones, I dated this girl. We'll call her Heather. After about 6 months of dating, she asked if she could move in with me. She was having issues with her parents and they were kicking her out, and her brother's wife didn't want her living with them for some unknown reason. Things seemed to be going well for us, so I said sure, why not? For a while, things were great. After about a year of living together, I was having thoughts of marriage. I hadn't proposed yet, but it was on my mind. Then things started to change. We started arguing. She would start a fight, and after a certain point in the argument, she would get pissed and leave. She'd tell me that she was going to her brother Steve's house. She'd come back the next day and things would be smooth again for a while. The third time she did this, I was a little more pissed than usual and went to the bar we frequented fairly regularly for a drink. I belly up to the bar, and guess who I bumped into? Steve. He acted a little standoffish, but that it was his usual treatment towards me, so I thought nothing of it. He leaves the bar and I turn around to ask him about Heather, but I didn't get past "Hey Steve" before I saw her across the way. She was sitting cowboy on some guy's lap with her tongue halfway down his throat. I have to admit, I saw red. Dave the bartender saw the look on my face and was like, "Man, I figured you'd be over her by now. She's been seeing that guy for months now." "We're living together," I told him, to which his only reply was, "Ouch, sorry man," before tending to another patron. There were several things I wanted to do, but I thought better of it. I waved goodbye to Dave, left my drink on the counter, and headed home. On my way home, I swung by Scotty's, a local hardware store akin to Home Depot or Lowe's. They were closing shop, but I told them I'd only be a minute. The kind lady told me to make it quick, and I was back on the road in less than 10 minutes. Pulling up to the house, I half expected Heather to be there and prepared myself for the drama, but nope. So I pulled my bike into the garage and got to work. I installed the new door locks and began packing her things in trash bags. I placed the bags in a nice neat row along the porch, all the while expecting to hear Heather coming up the drive. But nope. Spent a little time writing a note to place on the door and then went to bed. The next morning I wake up and the bags are still there and the note is still taped to the door. I figured old Steve hadn't said anything to his sister about seeing me at the bar and that she'd be home anytime now, thinking nothing was amiss. Around noon, my assumptions are proven correct when I hear her at the door. "What the freak is this?" And she starts screaming at me to open the door. I opened the door, said, "Read the note," and shut the door as she was asking what note. There was some crying and pleading, but I was done. I had nothing more to say to her, and I surely didn't want to hear anything she had to say. When it got quiet, I pulled the curtain aside to see her stuffing the garbage bags into her car. The note? "Bumped into Steve at the bar. Hope you had fun with that guy last night. We're done. Good luck finding a new place to live." Yeah, I think most people in that situation would do the exact same thing as OP, so I feel bad for OP because that's an incredibly tough situation to experience firsthand. I'd be seeing red too. It sucks that sometimes you have to make such harsh decisions like that and experience other people doing that to you. This next story is by Finkel and Einhorn. Treat people like crap for your mistake? Maybe you should get tested. This happened to my best friend yesterday, whom we'll call Stacy. Stacy works customer service, among other duties, for a small apparel company. A customer had ordered a t-shirt that was too big and wanted to return it. Despite the company's policy being clearly stated on their website, order forms, confirmation emails, etc., which says that they will not pay return shipping for an item of the wrong size unless it's the company's mistake. This customer sent an email asking if they would pay the shipping. He even said he understood if they wouldn't and it wasn't a big deal. So Stacy refused and pointed out the policy. The customer then sent an expletive-laden email back to Stacy and every other company email address he could find, calling them freaking R-words and dumb craps because they live in the South. Stacy's boss, fearing negative internet reviews, caved and had Stacy send the guy an apology along with a return label. The customer then sent an apology and a thank you. But in a beautiful act of passive-aggressive petty revenge, Stacy sent the D-bag an anonymous STD notification to inform him a former partner has tested positive for HIV and he is at risk. To be fair, when somebody pisses you off, that's a pretty funny way to get back at them. It is pretty crappy because, obviously they do have to worry about whether or not they're going to contract HIV, if the shoe fits anyways, if they've been sleeping around for a while, and all of a sudden they have to go and get tested and whatnot if they take it seriously, but I imagine it can definitely give you a little bit of satisfaction. And our final story of the day is by Papa Pizza Boy. Don't touch my food. I usually invite my siblings to eat out with me like twice a month, and usually I'm the one paying. So I take my brother, my sis, and her boyfriend for a little lunch to a buffet. Nothing major. Well, this buffet lets people order custom items. Think a hibachi, so I order. We all sit and have a fun chat, then the food is ready. I go pick it up, then I move away to wash my hands before eating. I'm starving by this point because I hadn't ate at all that day. Well, shortly after coming back, what do I see? My sister, her boyfriend, and my little brothers have eaten darn near half my plate and are licking their fingers in my face. Welp, for the past month, I've been ordering takeout, bringing it home, and eating it all while rubbing it in these people's faces. The boyfriend likes to hang around the house. They even occasionally ask me for some. I've never been so happy to look someone in the eyes and lick my fingers. Let's try and not think too hard about that last sentence of the story, shall we? That said, as a person that does enjoy themselves some good food, I would be pretty darn pissed if I custom ordered something and came back to see everybody else had eaten my entire order. I would be asking them to go reorder it for me because I'd definitely be upset. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So, which of these stories was your favorite and why? Let me know in the comments down below. But besides that, if you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing and turn notifications on if you haven't so you'll never miss an upcoming video. Any little thing that you do helps the channel grow so much more. Whether it's commenting, subscribing, or just watching the video, thank you all so very much for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time, right here on the Storytime channel.